at the moment, we have a no peace, no war environment that continues there. However, there is yet another factor. In case of war, Pakistan and China could get together and make a two-front war for India. That would be very difficult for India to manage. And it could be further vitiated by a very sensitive inner or an imploding inner front, that is, if the freedom struggle, the independence movement within Kashmir also starts moving at the same time. So India will then be faced with a three-front war. And to make things even worse, India is now a member of Quad. It is an anti-China grouping which has US, India, Japan, and Australia in it. So if India is fighting China in Kashmir, America or the United States will get sucked in invariably to support India. So that would mean that Kashmir now becomes an area where the vital national interests of four major powers, four nuclear powers of the world are clashing. That means that Kashmir is such a conflict, such an issue that needs extremely tactful handling, very skillful handling, very sensitive handling, and it must first of all be managed and then resolved as early as possible. And that is why Kashmir is also known as the likeliest nuclear flashpoint of the world. My recommendations are that China, India, and Pakistan should avoid this mutually assured destruction and display unmistakable determination towards conflict management and resolution, and manage and resolve all bilateral issues themselves. Koi aur aake nahi inko karega. And then they need to have a special trilateral forum. China, India, and Pakistan, and they should incorporate the Kashmiris in it. It has to be a massive diplomatic initiative. They should sit down, have a deep cost and benefit analysis, create the conducive environment for conflict management and resolution, and formulate and then enforce the agreed to confidence building measures. That means they should need, and another suggestion is that they should create an economic stake in the peaceful and mutually supporting coexistence of all these powers in this region. And to do that, they need to create regional connectivity and economic interdependence. What the BRI is doing for the region, India should become part of the BRI and CPEC, and then it will end up into a mutually beneficial arrangement for the region, the Middle East, and the CARS. I would like to make one point here, and we are running short of time. If you see Pakistan's geographical location, on its west it has two of the world's largest oil and gas deposits in the Middle East and in the Central Asian republics. On its east, it has two of the world's largest economies, India and China in the northeast. So to link the deposits of oil, gas, and minerals to the largest economies, they have to go through Pakistan. They can't go through the Himalayas or Karakorums or the Hindu Kush mountains, or they have to go through the sea. Therefore, it becomes essential that they create this regional connectivity, that economic interdependence, start trade, so that it becomes a mutually beneficial arrangement for everyone. And finally, if they do that, it can become a win-win economic bonanza for all and shared prosperity for almost half of the world's population. Unfortunately, all this is held hostage by bilateral disputes, and these bilateral disputes, first of all, need to be managed and thereafter resolved either bilaterally or through international forums. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inspiring us with your remarkable analysis. I would invite Professor Dr. Farhat Haq to share her profound perspective.
Advance, I like that. Okay. ये इससे हम ठीक इसको पहले ठीक जी Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I want to thank Dr. Uzma and Dr. Aisha for organizing this and inviting me. It was wonderful to see Dr. Uzma after a few years. And I just want to make sure that I make it clear that whatever I say here is my own thoughts, and absolutely the university administration have nothing to do with it. I say that because I want to talk honestly with you, and that, as you know, could be a little risky for the university, so they have nothing to do with my remarks. I just want to make sure that that is clear. So we're talking about conflict and conflict resolution. Let's first think a little bit about the sources of conflict, right? And I would submit to you that sources of conflict, a lot of it has to do with what we in political science call domestic politics. So while we can look to regional dynamics, which are very important, and relationship between various states in South Asia, we also have to look at what is going on internally in these various places and how that both generates conflict and how that might also help in terms of conflict resolution, right? And so I think that one of the biggest source of conflict generation right now in South Asia, or for that matter, in all of the world, is this idea that somehow information technology and social media has taken over our lives. It's like some kind of a big, huge monster that is creating lots of different turmoil for various countries, and one of the things that many of our governments want to do is to somehow tame that monster, because the idea is that if you can tame that monster, you can stabilize your societies. What I want to submit to you, my overall, just one key point, if you want to take that from my 10:15, and I want to make sure that I stick with the time limit here. The one sort of idea that I just want to very humbly present to you is कि देखें, and I will go between Urdu and English, कि सिर्फ बयानियाँ बनाने से बात नहीं बनती, right? So just to say, if we can get the right narrative, and if we could just advertise that right narrative, if we can get a hold of the right narrative, that will resolve most of our issues. I think that is really not understanding the current dynamics and how information technology and social media interacts with this political dynamic. Because that whatever the narrative is, it has to have some connection with reality. No matter how much we worry about fake news and living in post-truth world, truth still matters. People still do have enough common sense to sort of, judge whether or not particular narratives have connections to what they are seeing with their own two lying eyes. And so just constructing some kind of smooth narrative about how everything is fine is not necessarily going to reduce conflict generation or lead us towards conflict resolution, right? So the second, I think, major element in terms of conflict generation that we have to think about is The fact that South Asia is one of the youngest region in the world, meaning this is where we see the youth bulge most significantly. And that has all kinds of implications for both conflict generation and conflict resolution for these societies, unless they're able to really create opportunities for this younger population, unless they're able to really accommodate the variety of perspective that these young generation is bringing forth, it is not going to be possible to simply have a more stable region and move towards conflict resolution. So let me just very quickly, and by the way, I looked at the program for this 2 days conference, and I'm so happy to see so many different papers being presented on various topics, both to do with regional dynamics and internal politics. And most importantly, I think it is so good that we have now a brain trust, so to speak, in social sciences, where a variety of you are engaging in research projects and really creating that sort of knowledge base that we need. We don't always have to look outside to the West, etc., where a lot of knowledge is generated about our region, but rather that we are taking hold of that ourselves. So I really appreciate that. I really commend the organizers of this conference, and I do hope that this is a tradition that continues and, in fact, increases. So anyway, with that, let me just say a few words about, just generally about this whole idea of living in information age and what that means, particularly for the idea of democracy, how much it helps democracy or how much does it challenge democracy, right? So first of all, those of us who have lived for a longer period of time, remember that in 2011, when the so-called Arab Spring emerged, the idea was that information technology, particularly things like social media platform at that time, Facebook was the major social media platform that people looked to, would really bring that spring forward to those countries that were still struggling with authoritarian systems, that this will empower every citizen, we will have access to information, we'll be able to come together more easily because these social media tools will help us mobilize, organize, and stand up to authoritarian forces and challenge and lead towards democratization. The optimistic days, of course, have now given into very pessimistic evaluation of what information technology might do, because what we have seen is two things. First, that information technology and social media, etc., does provide a lot of oxygen to very polarizing ideas, that one of the major way that this whole system of delivering information is structured is by appealing to our emotions. And so our sort of rational faculties are not as engaged as our emotions are, and therefore whatever appeals to our emotion tends to get more engagement, and that's why we see that a lot of these social media platforms have really given a lot of oxygen to whether it's ethnic hatred, whether it's sort of misogyny, all kinds of negative forces. So definitely that's one element of information technology that I think political scientists and others who are thinking about technology and democracy, etc., are now starting to pay more attention to, is that we have to understand emotions, variety of emotions, and how they get deployed more lethally by information technology. The second thing that had happened is that initially political scientists had thought that, okay, this information technology really has democratization Impact because now you don't have to just rely on traditional media and those gatekeepers and state censorship, etc. You can go and get direct information, and we could all be citizen journalists, right? That was one of the terms that was put forward quite a bit. But what we have seen, but unfortunately, what we have seen now is that authoritarian states and authoritarian forces throughout the world have really learned to use a lot of this technology for surveillance purposes, for engaging in all kind of, one of the ways that you sort of control information in this is to flood the medium with a lot of either false information, or you go ahead and just censor information, or you go ahead and erect a so-called firewall or fiber wall, depending upon your inclination. So the point is that political scientists are now noticing that, in fact, authoritarian forces have become very adept at using the various technologies to try to control this sort of huge, let's call it monster, and that is information technology, right? So right now, what I say is that there is lots of confusion and turmoil about what it is that is happening in our world, and how we might sort of those people with good intention who want to bring more peace and harmony and understanding and conflict resolution, etc. How are we to deal with this world? I mean, right now I'm a Pakistani, but I'm also an American citizen, and I am facing a fascist government. It's as close to fascism as we have seen right now in power in so-called one of the largest democracies in the world, where so much that was taken for granted now is up in the air, and the whole system is in disarray, right? So, and a lot of that disarray, people argue or see as a result of this social media or information technology, etc., that we are in. So we are in a period of confusion, right? So just very quickly, what is it then that in South Asia, in terms of social media technology, that we can think about? I mean, in 15 minutes, we can't do too much sort of deep analysis. But what I again want to show you is just this idea that I'm saying, which is that the social media may enhance a lot of untruth and falsehood and polarization, etc. But it also has a countervailing effect, which is that unless it has some connection to what what is going on in the real world, that just sort of fake narrative on its own simply will not survive. So there are correcting mechanism in that, right? So actually, what happened to Bangladesh pehle chale chalte hain. So I see that there are a couple of papers here on Bangladesh, very, very important, very interesting for us to understand what's going on there. All I want to say about Bangladesh here is that the youth were disrespected in Bangladesh, right? उनकी प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने उनको गाली दी. वो गाली थी कि तुम ट्रेटर हो, रज़ाकार. That's the term. उसकी लंबी हिस्ट्री है, many of you know, but that's right. Young students को वो गाली बहुत बुरी लगी, और उन्होंने बहुत स्ट्रांगली रिएक्ट किया, राइट? तो वो गाली बजाय ये कि उसकी वजह से वो जो होते वो उनको कंट्रोल कर लेते और कहते कि ये तो ट्रबल मेकर हैं, ये तो कोई ये जो यंग वो हैं, उस गाली ने एक तीली की तरह काम किया और ज़्यादा आग जो है वो भड़क पड़ी, right? And so I think that's something to sort of think about. Definitely social media. And again, kudos to Prime Minister. She tried everything. She tried to shut the internet for many, many days. She tried to, she had been imprisoning and torturing people for quite some time. She tried everything, but the fire spread and it became harder. Now, that's one other thing that we have to think about when we think about Bangladesh, and that is in terms of conflict resolution. वहाँ पे ये ज़रूर हुआ कि वहाँ पे फिर जो वहाँ के कुछ जो मुक़्तदर लोग थे उन्होंने जाके उसको प्राइम मिनिस्टर को कहा कि भाई आपका टाइम अप हो गया, राइट? एंड सो देन शी हैड टू लीव द कंट्री. सो देयर हैज़ टू बी इन टर्म्स ऑफ conflict management and conflict resolution, you also need some intermediary force that can come in and sort of say, look, this will no longer go on. Otherwise, she could have stayed there for a longer time. ज़्यादा और ज़्यादा violence होता और ज़्यादा जो है destruction होती, etc. But that, at a time they came in and did that. Okay, so just very quickly, that was Bangladesh. Now, just going back to, sorry, that was India. देखो, इंडिया की एक बात है कि मोदी सरकार जो है ना, उन्होंने ऐसे लगता था कि उन्होंने बिल्कुल पीएचडी की हुई है सोशल मीडिया में. इतनी ज़्यादा इफेक्टिवली शुरू से, जब से वो आए नेशनल स्टेज पे, उन्होंने बहुत अच्छी तरह सोशल मीडिया को इस्तेमाल किया. वो बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब अपने आप को पॉजिटिवली प्रोजेक्ट करने के लिए भी, अपने आप को पॉजिटिवली प्रोजेक्ट करने के लिए भी, और वो क्या उसे कहते हैं, दुश्मन बनाने में भी, मोस्टली अदराइजिंग मुस्लिम्स, डिड अ वेरी वेरी effective and lethal job, right? So lethal that in 2024 there was this almost a sense of despair among those democratic friendly people in India कि भाई अब तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला, that they are going to be in power for a very, very long time, because so effectively had they, BJP, taken over this narrative of what India is all about, right? All I have to say, those of you who've been, who watched these things, one young man, Dhruv Rathore, apparently is one young man with 29 million followers, was able to construct a counter narrative. He was not the only one. There were lots and lots of other ones too, right? And all he did was just using some infographics and information, critical information, etc., just started to pull back the curtain to show that the emperor has no clothes, right? And of course, India is a very complicated country, and Dhruv is not the only one who sort of contributed to the fact that BJP has not become the juggernaut that it wanted to be. In fact, the 2024 election has sort of put a stop to their complete dominance of Indian politics. अच्छा, अब last फिर मैं बस बंद कर देती हूँ. I'm sorry, I don't mean to take too much. What can we say about our own country? Nothing much without getting into trouble. And so all I want to say is that you are our brain trust, जो young people है ना, आप लोग, और अगर इस country ने आप लोगों को कोई space ना दी, तो इंडिया को हमें अटैक करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. हम अपने आप को खुद destroy कर लेंगे. Right? That's all I want to say. Thank you very much.